So welcome everybody to the METATOPIA panel on location-based marketing, aka marketing your game store or bookstore cafe. My name is Beth Rimmels. This is Mike Roberts. We commonly lead marketing panels at other METATOPIA conventions, and you can find actually the recordings of those old ones on the RPG Panelcast podcast, which you can find the link to from genesisoflegend.com. And in the past, we've discussed a lot of marketing for game designers and people with, game design companies and things like that. This year, because METATOPIA is online and virtual and anybody can get to it much more easily, we decided to shift focus to parts of the game business that are location-based, because you have special marketing challenges and advantages that, say, a game company that just is a warehouse and the office in somebody's home does not have. So we figured we would tackle these sort of questions for you this year. As I said, my name is Beth Rimmels. I've been freelancing as a writer and game designer for more years than I'd like to admit. I also used to work in newspapers, but for the last 10 plus years, I've been working in marketing, both for private companies in their marketing department, and currently for a digital marketing agency, which handles everything from designing websites, SEO, social media, and everything else. Primarily right now, my role is content marketing there and copywriting. But I've also been a social media marketing manager and so forth. And Mike and I have worked together for a number of years at several companies. And he can introduce his expertise.
Hi, I'm Mike Roberts. I've been working in SEO for about as long as Beth has been working, so give or take about 10 years. Predominantly, I've worked on the search engine optimization side of thing as opposed to social media, but that does include things like Google local search and Google My Business as well. So that's been part of my specialty over the past couple of years, which would be of use to business owners specifically, especially during the past couple months with the craziness that we've all had to deal with.
Yeah. So
I guess a little bit of a background for Google My Business for any business owners who don't already know what this is. I would assume most people do, so some of this might be a little bit basic, but if you have a physical location, whether you offer services at that location or it's just your office and you send stuff out, Google has the My Business section, which also populates locations in Google Maps, and it's full of tons of really useful information. I'm sure all of you have seen this when looking up a restaurant or trying to find out like the hours of Target or whatever the case is. The Google My Business section, usually on the side of Google search, has the name of your business, your phone number, your hours, and during COVID has had special considerations, things you can put up concerning what you're doing for your business, whether you have plexiglass up is now a tag you can put on there, whether you have to clean your registers constantly. All of these are now tags you can put on there to help make people feel a lot more comfortable. And it's little things, but it's important right now to look into that.
So do you want to start explaining to them the importance of claiming their Google My Business listing? In case they don't know, because some local businesses don't.
That's true. We have actually had clients over the years who didn't realize that their physical business should have a Google My Business claimed. One of the major reasons for this is so someone else doesn't take it from you. But also importantly is if you don't have this claimed and you don't have the information there, how are people supposed to find you? Like, how are they supposed to know you're there? You could be around the corner from someone and they type something in a Google search and you don't pop up. That's easy local business that you could be missing.
Which is true. There's actually a bakery nearby that I discovered recently. It's been there 10 plus years. Tried it just happened to be in the shopping center. It was great. Went to go back to look up their hours. Their online presence is almost non-existent, and most of it is dominated by Yelp, which is, we'll discuss that separately. That's not good. And yeah, they were hard to find because they never claimed their listing.
Just wondering if we have any questions yet or not.
Not yet. People are listening to you intently.
Okay.
Yes. The disembodied voice people is Virginia, who is being a huge help by feeding us your questions. So if you do have questions or comments, please type them in. She'll filter them to us. So, but anyway, so if you want to explain to them, like I said, Google My Business listings.
Okay, I can definitely continue with that. I'm still getting used to the wonders of virtual panels. Beth has had a little bit more experience with this than I have. So I'm so used to staring at all the smiling faces and gauging reactions. So I have to gauge the reaction of the kitten behind me, who I think is bored by me. So some of the basic important things about Google My Business, as Beth had mentioned, hours. Just having your hours there. So many businesses will have special hours. Maybe you're closed for the election. Maybe you're open during election day. Maybe you're closed on Black Friday, or you're having a Cyber Monday sale, even though it's a physical location. Something as basic as that. Just being able to put in, you are open 9 to 5 on Monday, but 12 to 10 on Tuesday. These are signals that everyone who might want to come to your business should know, so they can base their schedule around when they can get to you. And so many businesses will forget to enter that information in. And then you have the special hours. Maybe you take off certain holidays other people wouldn't think of. There are a lot of businesses that don't close for Rosh Hashanah, but maybe you do. And you're able to put that information there, so that way your local customers will be able to find this stuff out. Then there's a handful of other just simple trust signals that can be added into Google My Business. Things like a description of your business, having the correct phone number so people can click to call you and ask you questions, having the questions section of Google My Business available. Because now people don't need to call you. They don't need to go to your website to ask the question, send you an email. There's a question section of Google My Business. So if someone's wondering, hey, do you have such and such a board game? Or do you have paints for miniatures? These are questions people are able to ask straight from Google that then in Google My Business gets sent to you so you can respond back. And that just helps to add more trust signals to your business. It helps speed up that funnel of people looking for you, knowing that you are right for them, and then going to you. And then other important ones. There are tags and highlights for Google My Business. And some of them are as simple as we have wheelchair accessible parking, and others are things like women-led business, minority-led business, veteran-led business, which, while they don't change anything about how you will rank in Google anywhere, these are things that people do look for, that they do care about. And it's nice to have that signal just right there so you know who you're supporting. And it's easy to do. It's just a single button click once you've claimed your business and gone in there. And there are so many options like that that you can add in that just improve people finding you, knowing who you are, and knowing whether they should come to your business or not.
And one of the other things that you can also do with Google My Business, which a former game store we used to patronize used very well, is placing photographs of the store. First of all, just playing a photograph of what you look like to make it easier to find, because if you're on a busy street or something, let them know what they're looking for as they're driving past. But one game store that we used to patronize showed that the place was attractive and not crammed tight with things, and there was space, and that you had people there playing games that were not just men, because some game stores can be kind of like the boys club, or be very crowded or not necessarily kid friendly. And Pete wanted to show that, no, you can bring a family here and play games and feel comfortable. And it's pretty and it's attractive. And you can put all those photographs in like a Google My Business listing to enhance it.
What's actually kind of hilarious about some of those pictures is some of those are actually added by me. They are still some of my top viewed photos on Google Local, because I have a Google Local Guide account, which doesn't really mean anything special. There's just a couple times where Google will give you like preferential treatment for making an edit because they're like, you're a guide, you know your stuff. And part of that was thanks to I took the photo of the front of that store with their logo and name, and it is still my top viewed, even though that store doesn't exist anymore. That is still my top viewed photo because of how important something as simple as just the storefront, so people know what you look like from the road without having to go into Google Maps and swivel things around to see it. Just something as simple as that. And I think at least one of the photos on there was of a game I was in, but a few of them were just things like people's Warhammer games, where it's nice. We get to see what happens there. We get to see the people. And as Beth rightly pointed out, there were actually women in those photos, which for a game store is important because way too often women will walk into these stores and it boys club, or it seems like it is, or it's got that overcrowded dark lighting and they immediately turn around. And we've been lucky enough to have some really good local game stores we've been to that are very inclusive.
Yeah. And also too, Grasshopper Comics is great about that because they like have a section of the store that's geared to kids comics. And so all the comics are like at small kid level height and things like that. And again, the store is, you know, bright and clean and neat and organized, everything else. And they put those photographs up. So again, a family can feel comfortable. Oh, hey, I want to get my kid into reading. Comic books may be a way to do it. Oh, this store looks nice and family friendly. You know, it helps.
And it's a very simple thing to put that up when you have your Google My Business account. It's just like uploading a photo anywhere. It's just like uploading a photo to your personal Facebook so people can see it. You sort of go in, click the upload button, add some photos. They give you the option to put some information on it. And just something as simple as, here's what the tables in our store look like. Here's what our bookshelves of games look like. Something as simple like that is far better to have than nothing at all. It's an easy thing that people do mess up regularly, where they go, well, it doesn't look pretty enough, so I'm not going to take the photo. And having nothing there gives people no indication of who you are and what you have. So even something as simple as you've taken a cell phone photo of the new games out on your small end table, that right there is just a big signal to people. This is a real place, real people. They have things going on, and it just adds that little bit of trust and comfort for people. And that's what most of this is about. It's not about trying to game some sort of Google algorithm. It's about trying to be real and natural. And a lot of the Google AI and machine learning looks for real and natural now, not specialized, special keywords crowbarred into places. They're looking for you to be real people who regularly update things.
Speaking of trust factors, do you want to explain also too about Google reviews?
I would hope most people know about Google reviews at this point.
Not necessarily. Like I said, people don't have a Google My Business listing who've been in business for more than 10 years. Don't assume anything.
True. This is true. I'm sure we've all seen Google reviews before. You know, the odd bit about Google reviews is you're almost only ever going to see 1 stars and 5 stars. Everyone in between is usually content and happy, and they don't think about leaving you reviews. But that's one of the first places we all look to for information about whether a place is clean or whether the owners or managers are helpful people. The reviews are a great place to find that information out. And while Google doesn't want you to game that by convincing all of your customers that they must give you 5 stars or anything like that. Just simply telling people you have a Google My Business, they can leave a review, and hopefully getting more of those good, robust reviews from local people, especially if they have local guide accounts. It just goes a long way to making everyone feel more comfortable, to notice that your business is there. It's so easy to just put up a placeholder on a business and get no reviews. But having something there shows your store is open, your store is interacting with people, and they've gone through the trouble of leaving that 5-star review to just say, Joe at the cash register was a great guy, helped me find this book I didn't know I needed, and now I love it. It could be 3 sentences, just a little bit of information, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, even the generic, 10 out of 10, definitely recommend helps. What's Google's current policy? Because I know they sometimes go back and forth on this, on like having a sign in your store or a board game cafe that says, consider leaving us a review on, a Google review or something like that.
Yeah, that's been a headache thing over the past couple of years, because they've gone back and forth a bit on that. Letting people know that they can leave you a review, that you have something, and they could if they would like to, is fine. But telling people that they have to leave a review, or that they'll get 10% off if they leave a review, that's something that, if it's found out, can be flagged by Google, can lose all of your reviews. They could just be blanked out. So it's not worth testing those waters. It's just easy enough to say, hey, we have a Google My Business. We have a location. If you have the chance and would like to, you could review. That should be fine. Don't emblazon it like everywhere, but having that little sign in the window or at the cash register that says, if you liked us, leave us a review, is acceptable. They do change how they feel about this from time to time, but right now it's safe to just say, hey, we have it, leave it if you like it.
I want to segue briefly too, because it's kind of related to Google My Business, to your Facebook business listing. Now, if you have any kind of business, whether it's, like I said, like a game company that really isn't location based, or if, like I said, you do have a game store or board game cafe, hopefully you have made a Facebook business page. If you haven't, please do so. Because even if you hate Facebook, I'm sorry, there's just too much traffic there and too many people look for you on Facebook. It's like, oh, I heard of this place, because people are going to search for you one of 2 main places: Google and Facebook. That's what the studies have shown. If they've heard of you, or they've recommended you, or they're looking for something in their area. So you want to be in both places. But even if you have made a Facebook page, if you are a physical location-based business, aka brick and mortar, there could be a second listing in Facebook that you're not necessarily aware of. For example, if you opened your store before you claimed your page, or you claimed your page before you put address in and you've been slow to put an address in for some reason, Facebook will find these things, users will put these things in, and there will be like a shadow listing for you there. You want to look for that, see if it's there, and if so, find it, claim it, and merge it with your main page, for very much similar reasons as Mike is saying with Google My Business. Because first of all, you want to have control over it. You don't want this other thing out there that you have no say over, that people may be leaving bad reviews on and you don't even know. But so you want to claim that. You want to make sure that, if you have already made your Facebook page, that you have put in the physical address. Like I said, make sure that you are the one that's going there. Because again, same thing. People are going to look for you there. That's where they're going to look for your hours. I'm guessing, I think it's like Google's like 60% at least of that traffic, if not more. But Facebook is a pretty hefty one for people, to start searching for you at. So you want to claim that, and you also want to set up Facebook place tips. You don't necessarily have to use it much, but you want to at least turn it on. That allows people to get messages when they're in the area of your store. So it's just all these little things because, like I said, today it's an online world. So you don't know what is the first place people are going to look you up in. You want to make sure that you're claimed in all of these places. So when they find you, they've got you. Back to you.
Oh, while you're still in the social media vein, we do have a question.
Sure.
How exactly does the question service on Google Business work? Google My Business work? Are there multiple ways those requests can be sent to you, like such as Slack or something along those lines?
Currently, it's not super robust. You usually have your email address and or phone number attached to your Google My Business account or your personal account. So right now, if someone were to ask a question in Google My Business in that little box, mostly you would wind up getting an email or possibly a text to answer that question. There are also some cases where if you have local guides who have added information about your business, they'll sometimes also see that a business they frequent has a question. So sometimes it's your other customers who have the option to answer the question. You still have the final say. You can remove that information if you don't like what someone has responded with, but it should come to you by email or text. I'm not sure at this point if Google has a plan on expanding that out to anything else, unless Google comes up with yet another new social media of its own that they might do it on. But currently, I don't think they have any plans for that, at least from what I've heard.
Yeah, I was going to say, Google doesn't usually play nice with other people. They want to keep everything Google-centric. So pairing it with Slack, they're not necessarily going to offer a solution for that. That said, Mike, would there be a way maybe to do like an if this then that to connect it to Slack?
I mean, that's a good question. I haven't actually had to use Slack much recently in my life, so I'm not sure what the functionality would be between the two of them. It's worth people looking into. It's not something that I've had to deal with professionally, though, because usually it's easy enough for it to go to our email or cell phone for a response.
Well, I could be wrong about this questioner, but it sounds to me like maybe they wanted to go as Slack, so this way then it's not just all on one person answering the questions. So it could go to like the team. So if that's the case, what would you suggest for someone who doesn't want to be the sole responsibility for these questions being answered and wants to make sure somebody else can tackle it and get one as fast as possible?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, probably the easiest way is a lot of people will set up like an info at their business as a manager on their account. The plus side to the Google My Business accounts is you can have multiple people. They have options. I think at this point they allow you to have up to like 30 people if you really wanted attached to the account.
I can't use that many at this point.
It used to be a lot lower. It used to be like 5 people. I think it was like 15 a couple of years ago. I think they expanded it out because there are some big companies where they want different departments having some level of access. So you could name your business under, say, a personal email, but have info at my store as a manager on the account. That email address would be able to get access to the questions if someone asked it, which means if your entire team had access to info at, any one of them would be able to respond. I mean, that doesn't fix the problem of like something like Slack. If it went there, your team could say craft all of the information together first before posting it. This would be everyone gets a notification. Someone else on your team could jump on it if you didn't have the time. But you could definitely have it set up, or if you don't have an info, but everyone on your team has separate emails, you could add all of them in as managers, and they would all have access to see that this question was asked and respond to it as the business, because they log in under their personal email and they would be responding as the business. not as themselves. So you don't have to worry about any sort of issues with people, say, if you have a privacy concern, if you don't want them to know you're an owner, but you want to answer, you could answer as the business, not as yourself. So that is an option. But otherwise, yeah, Google does not like playing nice with a lot of people. So I'm not sure if there will be any other options for answering those questions in the future.
While we're in this topic of answering questions and things like that, do you want to address the importance of responding to reviews?
Yeah, I mean, that is probably something a lot of people fail at. So don't feel bad. A lot of times you see that 5-star review for your business and you go, yay, we have a 5-star review. And then you don't do anything about it. And you might be thinking to yourself, why should I do something about a 5-star review? It's a great review. But you have the option to respond back to anyone that has left a review on your Google My Business listing. Even if it's just something as simple as, thank you for the great review, or it was wonderful seeing you at Warhammer night, or thank you for showing up to our board game event, or whatever it is. It's those trust signals that I mentioned before. It's what people are looking for in businesses, in brick and mortars, is that trust signal that we especially don't get as much nowadays as we used to when it was, you'd walk down the street to your regular store. Now it's so much of it being online. Something as simple as responding back to a positive review of thank you, it was great seeing you, or thank you for the great words, is enough to show people that you care and that you're there and you're present, that you haven't just set up this listing and walked away from it to try to gain whatever traction. So something as simple as just saying thanks is a huge step for a lot of companies to make other local patrons, potential patrons, feel better about who you are. It's also super useful for really bad reviews. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding and you're able to hop in there and be like, we're sorry that you had this experience, but if you'd like, reach out to us and we can try to fix this. The positive side of that is if you reach out to people like that, you have a chance of getting them to change their negative review to something better. So just because you have a 1-star review doesn't mean you're screwed and you should be angry at this person. Some of them have legitimate concerns. And just being able to respond, we're sorry this happened, please reach out to us, we can work on this, could get that 1-star review turned into a 4-star review 2 weeks later because they realized they were just having a bad day and left you the wrong thing. Or because you were able to fix their problem so quick, that's more important to them than the bad day that they had that caused them to leave it the first time. So always respond to reviews if you have the option.
And the other thing is what studies have shown is that even if, say, you get the 1-star review, you try to resolve it, and the person is just being a jerk. They're not being reasonable. They're not listening. Other people seeing this and seeing you trying to rectify it can still get you goodwill, because other people reading this will see, hey, they're trying to do the right thing and this person just won't budge, or this person's being completely unreasonable. So you can still, boost your reputation and get new customers out of a bad review, depending upon the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this also applies to not just for Google My Business. Again, it also applies to social media, regardless of the social media platform. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. If, somebody praises you, thank them. If somebody, criticizes you, try to work with them to make it right. Because again, people are watching. And again, it's a trust signal to see, oh, this company just completely ignores its bad feedback, versus this company is like, oh, well, can we DM you and, try to discuss this topic more, and all that is more trust signals. So, Virginia, do we have any questions?
Not at the moment. Keep on going.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I should talk about the posts on Google My Business.
Yes, you should.
So very much like if you were to have a business on Facebook where you're able to put up posts about things that are new, Google My Business has that option. So if you're in your Google My Business account, there's a section called Posts. And it's got a handful of options, things like what's new, product. They've, over the past couple months, added a COVID-19 post in case you wanted to let people know about like cleaning or things that you've done to prepare your store. They've even added for some businesses a COVID post where you can try to promote that you have gift cards instead of coming to your business. But some of the ways that we tend to use these posts for our clients tend to be what's new and events. And it's very simple. It's just an image upload and a text box. And then you're able to set a button that has things like learn more that can send them to, say, an event page on your site, or click to call. So that way they can immediately call your business's number. Or sign up if you have sign up sheets or a newsletter or something like that that you want people to be able to fill out a contact form for. And we've found, for the most part, doing at least one of these a week is a huge bonus. You can do them more than that. Google has it set up so that way after about 7 days, the post is no longer as visible. It's still there. You'll always have a long-running list of all of your posts. It just won't be as visible after 7 days, but you can have a post a day if you really wanted to. And it's just a great way to show people looking for your business what's happening right now. If you got a new game in and you want people to know that's available now, you could put up a product post with the image of the game and the costs and the blurb about what this game is. Or if you're having a board gaming night or a book reading, or you could be having poetry at your store, whatever the case is, you could put up an event, let people know it's this day at this time. You can sign up here and give them some info. And it's just another way to let people know what's happening at your store instead of having to send them also to, say, like a meetup.com group or having them go to your site to see the calendar. You can give them this information on Google, and then they can click through to your site for that sign-up sheet or that learn more. And the good part is you're able to see the statistics on that for how people are interacting with it. So that way you can work on it and realize, oh, when we do this sort of night and people see this button, they click on it more. So it's just another way of advertising yourself and knowing what works for you and your clientele as opposed to the general populace.
Yeah. And there is obviously a similar thing on social media. Now, the drawback is with Facebook posts for business pages. If you already have a Facebook business page, you probably know that your organic traffic sucks. This is not an accident. Facebook is limiting the reach, which means the number of people that potentially are seeing your post. For organic, meaning that it does not have an ad behind it, or it's not an ad or a boosted post, by pages. Their rationale is that, well, we found in studies that Facebook users do not want to see a lot of commercial stuff in their feeds. Technically, there is a bit of truth to that. People don't want to be slammed with ads. But it's also really Facebook is using this to drive business, because if you can't get it organically, then you're going to pay for an ad for it. So it's still good to do the posts, even if you don't necessarily want to put the ads in it, or boost it with an ad, because it's still there for people to reference. So if people are like, hey, what's going on at this place? Let me take a look. It's there. And again, it doesn't expire. If they're looking at your wall, they can just kind of scroll down and things like that. You can boost the post pretty inexpensively, like $5. I wouldn't go too crazy with that, because even Facebook says you shouldn't be boosting every post. It should be part of a larger strategy where you're actually planning as to what you may want to put into an ad. Facebook ads are inexpensive, but you can also throw money away by not doing them well. So that's a whole nother topic. However, what you can do, and if you have a game store or a board game cafe, that I would highly recommend, in addition to your Facebook page, is I would make a Facebook group for a couple reasons. You can, as the page, post to the group as your business, as opposed to like as a private person. The visibility within groups, at least for the moment, Facebook likes groups right now. This could change in the future. But the visibility is much higher. So that's great. Secondly, then that group can become like an extension of your clientele, but online, where, you know, people can ask questions, can talk about different things. You know, you can give them a heads up that, hey, we're doing trivia night, you know, next Monday. What theme should we have for the trivia, you know, or things like that, and get feedback from it. And by the way, now, when you do that, it's always best traffic-wise to make the post on the page and then share it to the group, because then any interaction that it gets within the group is going to count as far as interest in the original post. Whereas if you make the post directly in the group, it's not really helping your page. Facebook has all these weird little, you know, interactions or anything else in the algorithm. So I highly recommend making a group. And again, if you're a game store or a board game cafe, you can also then off your Facebook page make events. And, you know, and again, it'll highlight and you'll show up in the calendar, not just for your store, but it will also show up for like, say, generic board game cafe is having a Settlers of Catan night, you know, and they're doing like a Catan tournament. And I RSVP yes to this. Now, Mike and I are friends on Facebook. He may get a notification, or if he checks in Facebook events saying that, you know, Beth RSVP to some things. And so then it may pop on his to show him this event that otherwise he may not have seen, or might otherwise be like lower down, you know. So you're always kind of playing these games with Facebook for visibility.
I definitely do see that stuff very often. There's a local game store cafe not too far from me, and every single one of my friends that says they're going to an event there, I wind up seeing a post on Facebook that's like, your friend is interested in this. So I get cross-promoted that business constantly, which is great. I'd love to go there once the world is a little bit safer. So yes, this is a smart thing to do on Facebook.
Yeah. Once the world is not like, you know, constantly, you know, quarantining because we have a pandemic going on. But you can also do events for virtual events too, because again, some of the stores by us, and I know one board game cafe near us, I'm not quite sure how they're making it work financially, but they are doing online events. So I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it that closely because I've been too busy. So I'm not sure if it's like they're somehow providing hosting space for the game or something, but they've worked out something to keep their clientele. And they list there that they're having this event virtually online on this day, and blah blah blah. But so all that can help your visibility. And again, just like Google My Business is, like it or not, it's really important. If you have a location-based business, doing the same sort of thing on Facebook is just as important. And then, if you're visually oriented and, you have somebody on staff who's like big into Instagram, you can also do Instagram posts and so forth. Facebook owns Instagram. There's a lot of cross promotion between. And right now, you do tend to get better visibility on Instagram than you do on Facebook. But Facebook's still kind of the granddaddy for this. So I wouldn't abandon Facebook for Instagram. I would just, if you're so inclined and have the time, maybe do both. So.
Yeah, I figure it's a question of your exact demographic as to which one you want to spend a little bit more time on, because there are differences. Even though everyone has a Facebook, quote unquote, there are differences between the people that you will most likely get on a Facebook versus an Instagram.
Right. And
So
if you have, yeah, I was gonna say, if you have the spoons to do it, do both. If you find out over time most of your business on Instagram, then prioritize that. But I wouldn't fully abandon Facebook. And like I said, I don't care. You know, you can hate Facebook. I'm not a fan, but for business, it's kind of a necessary evil for the moment. You know, so you don't have to love it, but these things can make a big difference in your visibility to the world. So
yeah, I like the necessary evil comment, because Google My Business is a necessary evil. You can't target it in the same way that you could something like a Facebook ad, but Google My Business, if you want someone to be able to find you on a map, if you want them to see, directions to you, it's kind of necessary to have it, even if you don't love it. And it's kind of a spray and pray sort of moment. You can't target the people, and Google is just what everyone defaults to. So you're kind of hitting the entirety of the world, but at least with your location, with it being local, you're at least getting the people near you instead of halfway across the world. So that's kind of where it becomes necessary. You want the people down the block, you need a GMB.
Yeah. Now, talking of necessary evil, do we want to discuss the unnecessary evil of Yelp?
I mean, I try to stay away from Yelp. Though for the longest
explain
time,
to people why. But that's what I'm saying. Explain to people why they should stay away from Yelp for the unnecessary evil.
I mean, look, Yelp is a headache, and Yelp requires a lot of money, generally. But also, Yelp, at least for a long time, and I think it's still true, is what powered Siri's responses to maps, which is kind of why you had to for a while. It was Yelp that did Siri's maps. That's not 100% true anymore, because even if Apple is kind of evil, they all are, and I think they've gotten a little bit better with where Siri is able to pull information from now.
Yeah.
As opposed to, say, like Google Assistant on your phone, which is pretty much tied directly to Google, or Cortana on a Windows laptop, which is tied to Bing, which is, you know what? I didn't even talk about Bing Maps. You could have an account there, and that will hit like an older demographic, but I wouldn't even bother with that one.
Yeah.
And Yelp is necessary for reviews. The people there are, I think we've all seen the memes over the years about Yelp reviewers, and it is kind of true.
Well, my bigger issue with Yelp is that Yelp is a scam. I mean, they won't.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. My general advice to people is claim your listing on Yelp and then never answer any of their emails. And by that, I don't mean people who might reach out to you from Yelp. I mean Yelp emails. Because I am a believer of, if there's a platform, you want to control your access on that platform and your business on that platform. But then Yelp is then going to try to sell you things. I don't care how good the deal sounds, how slick the salesman is. Never say yes to a Yelp deal or a Yelp representative, because they have ripped people off. They have done things like, people aren't actually calling your number. They're calling the number that Yelp substituted for you. Yelp it can be shady as heck. So
yeah, we had to deal with this with a local business that we knew. So this isn't like a secondhand thing. One of the local businesses we were friends with, a gaming business, dealt with a lot of these problems with Yelp marketers calling them constantly and trying to sell them the moon, basically, and getting nothing in return for it.
Yeah.
So they historically have not been the best option for a small local business. So Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't want to say they're a scam because that sounds bad, and I don't want to be held like accountable for libel or something. But in
Fair.
my personal experience, I would say that that should be on the bottom of your list of things to look at if you're looking at marketing outlets for your local business.
Yeah, I would not recommend them. And like I said, they'll promise you the moon. You're not going to get the delivery. You could put that money to better use someplace else, like say Facebook ads, which Facebook ads can even be targeted to people close to your location. There are ad targets where if like somebody's just kind of in your neighborhood, that's when the ad will pop up. Or you can target things to customers. As much as Facebook ads can be highly effective, you just have to be a little careful in how you set them up. But I would definitely recommend doing that over anything. Do not pour money into Yelp. Just claim your listing and maybe periodically check it to see if you have any feedback to respond to. But otherwise, just mostly ignore it. But the thing is, sometimes it will pop up when people search for your business name. It may be the fourth or fifth result or something like that. And some people really like, as consumers, like Yelp, so they'll click into that, so. But that's why I consider it the unnecessary evil. So
we do have a question.
Yes.
Do you have experience with using community outreach as a means of marketing, such as working with schools and running after-school programs, or community centers and running events in-store or at other locations for organizations?
Those are absolutely great ideas. And yes, I definitely endorse doing all of those things. Yes, I've sometimes helped with those things.
I love when clients do that. That is wonderful. That is always a good thing. Not enough people do that, and it's great when businesses do. And at least from my experience, like, yeah, you can kind of like turn that into another avenue of marketing. Obviously, that shouldn't be the first reason that you're doing a community outreach thing, but you can definitely benefit off of that. And a lot of clients over the years I've had that do community stuff tend not to want to tell people they're doing community stuff.
Just so weird.
And I never understood that. If you're giving money to a local baseball team, tell people. If you're running an event for like a senior home near you so they have a space to play Scrabble, tell people. Like, this is a good thing. And it's silly how many people don't market themselves when they do stuff like that. Obviously, don't slam the name of your business in the face of everyone and be like, well, if we're running this at the local senior center, we must have our name everywhere. Don't do that. But yes, please, if you have a business, do something locally. It's always good for goodwill with the community, and it gets your name out there. And I mean, you're not going to make millions off of running games for your local community like that, or running an after-school program, but it's always worth it to do that. If you have the opportunity, just do it. Even if you're not going to make tons of even if you're not going to make tons of marketing breakthroughs from that, it's always a positive, and it's a great thing to have on your website or in the window of your business, like, hey, we did this. Well, you might even wind up in the local newspaper, and then you can share that on Facebook.
Yep.
And definitely just do it. It's always good.
And like you might get attention then from people who didn't even attend the event, because like my local library, in addition to like emailing out events and things like that, they have a big, glassed in display when you arrive, and each event has a sheet and everything else, of what's going on. And it'll say in there, this, whatever the event is being led by, so-and-so of, and it'll name the business, so people looking at these things, even if they didn't participate in the event, can see that name. And then, they're talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, I've been looking for a board game cafe by me. It's like, oh, you know what? A board game cafe did something at my library. I think its name was so-and-so. That may sound simple, but that's another potential customer to you. Why not? It's all these little things add up. So, Virginia, did that person have any like further follow-up or anything like that?
Not yet, but I will keep an eye.
Okay. And any other questions or comments?
No, it seems like people are very happy with your flow.
Okay, good. Because I'm just looking at the time and we have 10 minutes left. So we have more stuff we can talk about, but if anybody has questions, you do want to get them in before, we're running out of time. Because unfortunately, unlike real Metatopia, where you can follow us out and maybe we have a conversation at the bar or something, can't really do that this year. So
yeah. And to tie local events into Google My Business, you can make a Google My Business post about that. Very easy to do. If you're running an after-school event near you where, I don't know, the high school kids are playing D&D at your store, you can post that up as an event and let people know about it. Sure, the local high school kids might be more apt to find you on Facebook or Instagram as opposed to Google My Business, but their parents might find you more readily on Google My Business, and that never hurts to do. And also, since you get that running tab of all of your posts going back pretty much forever, anyone looking at your business in the future could scroll down through your posts and see, oh, every month or a couple times a year, they have run these events. So that just sort of builds up your history. And while it's not going to get you the most amount of people, there is that possibility people will look through your past events on Google and see that. So yes, cross-post that stuff. If you're running a game somewhere for people, cross-post it everywhere. I love when businesses actually run stuff like that.
Yeah. And obviously, again, also, post on other social media platforms. If you're doing something at your library probably has, or at least hopefully has, a social media program, so when they, post about the event that you're doing there, share that, share the thing. A couple other just little quick tips for people with location-based businesses. I hope that you are collecting emails to build an email list. I personally would not necessarily recommend Constant Contact for that. I would use MailChimp or some of the other alternatives, because Constant Contact their stuff is very pretty and they start you off with a free month. But their deliverability rates are not always that great. So look around. There are other alternatives that are free till you hit so many people on it, or very reduced cost in the beginning and things like that. But you want the email addresses to be able to reach out to your customers, again, to follow up and let them know what you're doing, because different people have different preferences. Some people are going to look on Google and they're very active when they are checking things. Some people are very, active on Facebook. Some people prefer getting it in their email. Meet people where they are for these sort of things. But the other trick is, if you have an email list, you can load that into your Facebook business account and create a custom audience off of this. So that then if you're targeting ads, you're targeting ads to people who are interested in your stuff. And then you can do what they call a lookalike audience of basically telling Facebook to find people who meet this similar criteria. And that can be a big help for getting the word out, but also targeting your ads so they're, not a ton of money. Just want to touch base real fast. Anything else, Virginia?
Nope, you guys are on a roll.
Okay. Also, to consider having a customer loyalty program. I can't kind of, in this generic space, particularly with a few minutes left, tell you what to do and what not to do with the customer loyalty program. There's a lot of different ways to set them up. The main thing I would say is definitely talk to your accountant or whoever is the finance person for your business to make sure that you aren't giving away the store, cutting too much into your margins, because as we know, game stores and board game cafes, don't necessarily have great margins. But But that little, like, after 6 or 10 cups of coffee or whatever it is, you get the next one free. It gets people in. They like that stuff. And usually then through the loyalty program, again, you've captured an email that you can use to target to them. So
free coffee always gets me. Just saying.
Yeah. So, but bad thing is I've seen stores where they're giving too much, where they're giving like X% off of every purchase. And then they realize, oh crap, that's actually cutting too much into our margins. So you do have to look at your finances for it, but a customer loyalty program of some kind is really, and that's the other thing. At the bottom of your receipts, most people's point of service system, AKA the cash, the register, lets them customize things on their register sheet. And usually there's a space for like 1, 2, or 3 maybe lines at the bottom. Put in, your social media links in there, or, put in, like your service, leave us a Google My Business review or something like that, or something.
I would suggest not putting a QR code. That was really big for a while, and it really isn't as big now. But I know a lot of businesses tried to do the QR codes at the bottom of a receipt to send people to their Facebook or their Google My Business or things like that. It really hasn't taken off. Like, it was the buzz a couple years ago, and really, it takes up a lot of real estate, and it doesn't look pretty on the bottom of a receipt.
Yeah.
So there are other ways to do it. Shortened links if you have to are fine, but even just telling people search whatever on Facebook is good enough.
Yep. And you can always do, like I said, tiny URL or a bit.ly URL or something like that if your link is too long or something to shorten it up. But yeah, use that real estate. Use every opportunity to get the word out and to get people into your channels. It definitely helps. Just touching base real fast, Virginia. Anything else?
I keep getting no more questions. They're you seem to have answered their questions.
Okay. Any last minute tips, Mike? Because we've got just a couple more minutes.
No, I'm just very sad that I can't meet with people like in the cafe area after this. Hopefully next year. Usually you can find me wandering around, probably in a kilt. I bought some nice ones that I'm going to wear to Metatopia next year. So you can always find me and buy me a cup of coffee, and I will answer more of your questions. I've done that for a few people over the past couple of years of doing this, and I really do enjoy that. And unfortunately, I'm already bad with names, but now I don't have faces of who's been here. So I can't even connect that. So if you're in this panel and you see me next year, let me know that whether you hated it or you enjoyed it or what. I'd like to know, so that way we can continue to do these and get better at them for everyone.
Exactly. And by the way, Mike's also a good playtester to have in your games. He gives very good feedback. He's one of my playtesters. So
last year I was on the How to Be a Good Playtester panel as well. So apparently the people who run the convention think that I'm a good playtester as well, or they just thought I was a body to fill a chair. Either way, I'm happy with that. I would love to be on more panels like that.
Yeah, no, he gives good feedback. So if you're a game designer, get him into your game, because he's been invaluable for me for giving me feedback. Other than that, let's see. As far as how to reach us on Twitter, I am at Beth Rimmels. So you can tweet at me there. Also LinkedIn, you can find me there. I eventually will set up a website for myself. I'm really bad. I'm like the cobbler who's, kids don't have shoes. I need to set up a website for myself.
Yeah, I had to step away from most of those, so I'm really not on Twitter anymore, and mostly you can't contact me. If you really wanted to, Beth could probably tell you how to get a hold of me, but Twitter took over too much of my life, so I'm not really on there anymore.
Yeah, I can understand that. Twitter is not what it used to be. It's oof. Yeah, it's.
You could probably find me on Facebook, but I also have one of the most generic names in the world. So if you look up Mike Roberts, you probably won't find me.
Oh, but you will also, however, the company we are currently working for is revamping its website, and as such, we're going to be posting a lot more blogs, and I've written some of them, and Mike's written some of them, so you can find us there. Oh, which is efferent.media, by the way, or efferentmedia.com.
Yeah, we're efferentmedia.com. Our emails are efferent.media. Yeah.
Well, I think
we'll have a new website soon.
Yeah,
I think one spell that for me. I'm going to spell that wrong in the chat.
It's EFFERENTMEDIA.com.
I'm like, I couldn't tell if that was a V or two Fs. Okay.
Yeah, I have a weird accent. So, but yeah, the digital marketing company we work for, we're redoing the company website. So check it out in 2 to 4 weeks. And there's going to be a lot of new blogs on there as part of the relaunch. So, and then you'll be able to get more advice from us on various things. So.
Okay. I think that should about wrap it up. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Mike. This has been lovely.
Thank you, Virginia, for facilitating for us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
And hopefully see you next year, Metatopians.